of winner's bracket, first round winner's bracket. So it's gotta be second. Got them started off here, and we're gonna get them synced up for you in a second. First things first, if you've not seen a Donkey Kong Country speedrun yet, the important things to note are rolling is fast. You want to roll as much as you can to go faster. You want to roll through enemies because that makes you go even faster. You have two Kongs, Donkey and Diddy is faster than Donkey. So most of the game, you want to be rolling when you can. You want to be rolling through enemies when you can, and you want to be Diddy when you can. There are a select few instances where it's actually faster to use Donkey, mostly for things the developers programmed in to make it so they're only accessible to Donkey, or he just has some different characteristic about him that makes it faster to use him. So here, you're going to see our first instance of entering a bonus game in order to actually skip a section of the level and be shot out really, really quickly, faster than your normal move speed, and save some time here. There are two instances in the All Stages speedrun where that actually saves time. So now, going on to the third level, you see on the overworld here, there are a couple of corners between the levels. You see where the Kongs change direction and stuff. We're going to come back to that later. Keep that in mind. So now on to Reptile Rumble. You're going to notice there's a lot of good rolls here and some interesting mechanics in these crawl spaces. You see Jackie jumping through them right there, and Blue jumping through as well. Saves a little bit of time over just this normal crawl space animation that you have, where you see on blue screen right there where the Kongs just crawl through. It's a lot slower. If you hold down as you jump into a crawl space, you can jump through them much quicker than your regular crawling animation, and you can also zip through them as well if you try to roll when you're inside that crawl space. The game doesn't really want you to be able to roll inside those crawl spaces, so it just zips you out to whichever side you're closer to. See more of that later, hopefully. Now on to first water stage, Coral Capers. For the most part, you want to be on the fish when you can. In three of the four water stages, we will use him. His name is On Guard, or as we affectionately refer to him, Eduardo. He is much faster than the Kongs while in the water, particularly in the horizontal direction. As you see, he has this lunge attack that he does that lets you both knock away most enemies, and also clip through the ones that you can't get rid of. It's also a little bit of a speed boost, so you want to do that as much as you can when traveling horizontally. Now into Barrel Cannon Canyon, mostly just auto barrels across the top of the stage, but you end up having to come back down a little bit just in order to go to the next set of auto barrels. And then one really nice extendo right here on Jackie's screen, bop, bop, and through those guys, in order to get there in time and jump on that last Kremling, again, in order to get up to these auto barrels that shoot you across the top of the stage. What an extendo is you start a roll, and you end up rolling through an enemy, and then you repress the roll button after having released it while going through the enemy. You press it again, and it will refresh your roll. You'll get that speed boost from rolling through an enemy, and you can only roll for a limited amount of time before your Kong just sort of comes to a stop. So what the extendo does is it extends your roll, and it lets you start your roll all over again, so you get a brand new roll to go that set distance again. So the first boss here, first naughty fight, really not much to talk about. You just jump on him a few times. For the most part, the boss fights are kind of trivial, but there are some ones later there that are a bit more difficult with some tech to them. For the most part here, I'm just going to focus on the stages themselves, actually. Lots of good movement in this stage called Winky's Walkway, named after everyone's favorite animal buddy, Winky the Frog. Unfortunately, he doesn't see any use in the All Stages speedrun. In fact, in most speedruns, he doesn't see any use, but that's just because he's too good for us. He's too fast, too overpowered. So, a little bit of a warp here to skip most of that auto-scrolling stage in the minecart. You skip probably 90-95% of it, so that's a pretty good time save there. It was also a very difficult stage to do casually. I know most people as a kid had trouble with it. Now on to the second cave stage, Bounty Bonanza. This is the first one that's really, really difficult, and Jackie is actually the IL world record holder in this stage due to some extendos and stuff that he does. Had a little bit of trouble in the crawl space there and missing this trick that we like to call B-skip. He took damage there. Looks like he opted to intentionally take damage there again with Donkey in order to get Diddy back in front. Might lose a little bit of time over just swapping Kongs because you do lose time to the freeze frames when you take damage, and then also again when you get your Kong back, which he's going to in this next stage, Stop and Go Station. Either way, not too much of a difference there, and still has a pretty favorable lead over Blueberry. So like I said, Stop and Go Station. Now they're in there. You just basically go back out the entrance, and it warps you again, probably like 90% of the way through the stage. And you also go through a DK barrel as you do it. So that's how Jackie got his Donkey Kong back. It's important to have both Kongs going to Millstone Mayhem, this stage right here, because you need both of them in order to do a major glitch called the super jump. So you're going to take damage with Donkey on the slope right here. He jumps up off the top of the screen. You saw on Jackie's screen. You'll see it again on Blue's. Then when he gets Donkey back, he's going to jump on this crusher here and go into a Donkey exclusive warp barrel. The barrel is only there when you have Donkey in front. It's typically not accessible just by jumping up into it, so the game intends for you to go get a barrel and go get a tire and bring it back, but that wastes a whole lot of time, and it's actually kind of difficult, so we use a super jump there in order to get up to it. We're going to see that again here soon in Vulture Culture, the next stage after this Necky boss. Again, this one's pretty much just like the first Naughty. You just jump on him a few times and he spits nuts out at you, just avoid the nuts. Pretty easy. And now onto World 3, sort of like the forest world of this game. And so normally we want to be Diddy, but in this case, he actually is going to stay Donkey just because he's going to have to swap again right here in order to get into that warp barrel. The swap between the two Kongs back and forth ends up losing more time than you would save just by being Diddy and doing that movement through those auto barrels. Also, Donkey has a shorter fanfare, so we take advantage of that, finishing out the Necky boss with Donkey in front as well. Sort of dance that Donkey does, after you finish a boss. It's a little bit faster than the one that Diddy does, so you save some time there. Just a warp in Treetop Town, nothing much to talk about there. And now into Forest Frenzy, which is the first stage of the game with a super jump roll that most runners typically go for. Which I don't know about most runners, but I do think that both of these runners go for it. Maybe not in a race situation, but it looks like Jackie's going for it, and he was a little bit late on the Y press, which is good because that's safe. Blue is late as well, so they're just going to get a regular super jump here. Typically, runners will super jump over this stage just because it saves a boatload of time over having to ride these ropes to go through this sort of auto-scroller-esque section. So it's actually beneficial if you mess up the super jump to set it up again, because setting it up only takes about 30 seconds, and actually playing out the stage takes longer than that. So it is always beneficial, as long as you have the lives to do it, to just jump into a pit and then give it another shot. I'll explain super jumps a little bit, or super jump rolls a little bit later when we get to them, but it combines two of our favorite tricks together, a super jump and a jump roll, into a super jump roll. So now lots of good platforming on this stage, lots of good rolls and some extendos and some rope skips like the one right there on Jackie's screen. Again, making use of those extendos, you release Y as you're rolling through an enemy and repress after you're through to refresh your roll. Neat little extendo right there on Jackie's screen, but he didn't go for it, called the Fabi roll, found by, well, made mainstream by Fathlo23. I always forget his numbers. Wasn't really RTA viable until very recently, and shoutouts to Fathlo as well for improving his world record last night and getting the first 31-minute time. So both Jackie and Blueberry having a very nice Temple Tempest. Can be a very difficult stage, especially if you hit the Forest Frenzy super jump roll and your nerves are a little bit tuned up or whatever. So now we're going to go back to World 1. Remember those corners from before? So if you are on one of those corners and you press one of the face buttons to enter a level, particularly the one on the bottom right there where Jacky is. Having a little trouble. 5th try, 6th. Oh my, Jacky. 7, 8. Ouch. The map warp infinite. Jacky gets 9th try map warp, and just like that, Blueberry is ahead of him with, I think, like 3rd. So what happens there is you press one of the face buttons to enter a level as if you were on a regular level entrance, but since the game doesn't actually have a regular level entrance there, but your Kongs are stopped, you are able to get wrong warped into the end of that stage, Orangutan Gang. There are 4 different ones that exist. Only 2 of them are typically useful in speedruns. So now, 2nd water level stage of the game, Clam City. Again, we're going to be riding our buddy On Guard. There are not too many clips in this stage, clips through enemies, but lots of good movement, and you basically want to cut corners to maintain your momentum as well as you can. Blueberry opting to go above the clam. Not sure if Jacky goes... Yeah, Jacky does the clam clip, so very nice there. That's typically the only clip through an enemy that you see in that stage. Now on to Queen Bee. Basically you just bash her with these barrels every time she is yellow, and then she turns red and swoops at you up and down a whole bunch, increasing number of times and increasing speed as well as you keep hitting her. Blueberry having a little trouble. He lost Diddy, so now he's going to be doing the fight with Donkey. I don't know if he has practiced this. Some runners actually find this easier and will intentionally swap to have Donkey in front just because the way that he holds the barrel is a little bit easier for some runners. So now we are just about tied up, and you see Blueberry blacking out a little bit sooner than Jacky, purely because Donkey's fanfare is faster than Diddy's. But he is going to be a little bit slower starting out here with Donkey in front as opposed to Diddy, and he is going to get some freeze frames as he gets Diddy back. And that's probably just as beneficial as swapping your Kongs there, taking damage, so he only has Diddy now. So he is going to end up saving time on the overworld, just having Diddy solo as opposed to having Diddy and Donkey, because if you only have one sprite, one Kong on the overworld, your Kongs will not stop and wait for each other, as if you do have 2 Kongs, the first one will start moving, the second one will start moving 10 frames later, and you cannot enter a level as long as one of your Kongs are moving, so you do have to wait that additional 10 frames for that second Kong to catch up. So the game runs at 60 FPS, so he will save 1/6 of a second in theory every level transition, but it looks like he got Donkey back. Oh, that's right, because you get the Donkey barrel after halfway. So now a little out of bounds clip there on Jacky's screen. You're going to see it on Blueberry's as well, hopefully. Yeah, there you go. Into the warp. Again, takes you most of the way through the stage, and neither player opting to go for under the bee. It's okay. It's a very tricky technique and very risky as well. You end up losing Diddy. Blue having some trouble on the ropes there. Not quite an optimal climb, but he's still right on Jacky's heels. And so now on to Ice Age Alley. Typically the first stage where you see our buddy Espresso, who is very fast. Some other runners will opt to take him in Temple Tempest, but that is not optimal. It actually loses about 6 seconds over playing out the stage optimally and doing those rope skips that I was talking about. So sometimes we refer to this stage as Bird, just simply because this is usually the one and only time that you see him in a speed run. He's much faster than the Kongs, and he lets you skip all these ropes with his fluttering between sections, and you actually get a little bit of a speed boost when you run down slopes, and you get a little bit of a slowdown if you are running up slopes. So typically you want to run up slopes and run down slopes and jump up slopes, and both runners are very clearly through that stage, very easy. Something that neither runner was affected by that time, but can happen very often in that stage, is taking damage on Espresso or any animal buddy, you just sort of get thrown, catapulted in whichever direction you're facing at max speed. You can't roll, you can't jump, you can't even turn direction when it happens. You just get thrown, you get launched, and wherever you go is wherever you go. And if that's into the bottom of a pit and out the bottom of the screen and to your death, then so be it. There's nothing you can do about it. So Ice Age Alley can be very tricky and cost you a whole lot of time if that ends up happening. Typically, we don't get halfway in that stage just because it's out of the way and loses time to grab it. But also, it's not too beneficial just because the stage is really slow if you don't have Espresso, and he's only in the beginning of the stage to the left-hand side from where you come in. So I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody's timed it, but it's probably just about equal, all things considered, to start the stage over again and play it out with Espresso, as opposed to getting halfway and then just playing it out with the Kongs, just because of all the ropes and stuff that you have to ride and all the waiting you have to do. So, Aquatic Ambiance, the third water stage of the game. This one, you do play with the Kongs, and the Kongs actually are identical underwater in terms of their speed and their movement. So it really doesn't matter which Kong you have in front, and that extends also to On Guard if you ride him. Typically we don't get On Guard in this stage just because he's so far out of the way, and toward the end of the stage it's actually a time loss to go out of your way to go get him. But the speed of the Kongs also determines how fast you go on the animal buddies as well. So the Kongs have identical speed characteristics and whatnot underwater and as well on the fish, but that doesn't mean that they're identical on all other animal buddies as well. You want to have Diddy on front when you ride other animal buddies like Espresso and Rambi. So now we're on to Torchlight Trouble. Very short, very difficult stage. Lots of tight rolls, some of them off these flaming oil drums. You can see Blue having a little bit of trouble here. It's going to have to be careful. Yep. All right. So in order to compensate for the stage being dark, the developers give you Baby Squawks. He just carries this little lantern with him, but it does cause a lot of video lag just because it's so graphically intense on your poor old SNES from 1990. So typically runners will opt to not go get him, just because it takes time to break open the crate, and then you get a lot of visual lag from having him. You can pretty much see what you're doing anyway, so most players just end up playing it in the dark. Roper Drumble, lots and lots of good tire rolls here. Jackie unfortunately missing up that platform skip there, so that gives Blue the lead now. There's also a super jump roll on this stage. Looks like both players opted to not go for it. I think Jackie normally goes for it and runs, but it is kind of finicky to set up, and it is not that much of a benefit in terms of hitting it. It saves about 8 seconds over optimal, as far as I've been told, and it costs something like 12 to set up, just because it's it just has a long setup. There's a lot of stuff you have to do. And so this looks like the first world boss all over again, except a little bit different. He just does a bunch of high jumps in between each time you hit him. Jackie showing off a little bit of tech there for us and hanging out in the upper left-hand corner. Didn't get it the second time around. Just lets you hit the boss a little bit more optimally. He is vulnerable as he comes down from the apex of his last jump in each set. The only way to actually reach him that high is when you end up hanging out in that upper left-hand corner. So now, Oil Drum Alley, another stage with a super jump roll. I believe both runners go for it here. Yeah, so Blue's setting up for it, and Jackie is as well. Hopefully they can show that off for you. Blue was early, and Jackie was late. So you got to see both outcomes there. Blue ended up hitting the Y button a little bit too early, and Jackie hit it too late, so that's why he got a super jump there instead of the super jump roll. So what needs to happen is you need to charge a super jump, as they did in Millstone Mayhem and as they did in Forest Frenzy. So you have you take damage such that one of your Kongs runs into a wall and jumps off the top of the screen, and then After that, you need to get your Kong back, get another barrel, and either swap or take damage such that the Kong that you charge the super jump with is in front, and then walk off of a ledge onto an enemy such that you would bounce off of the enemy without having to hit the jump button, because you need to keep the jump button depressed this whole time in order for the super jump to activate. It is a frame perfect Y press. You need to press the roll button Y on the exact frame that you bounce on the enemy. That is a 1 frame trick, 1/60th of a second, 1 chance. Very difficult, but it ends up saving about 26 seconds in that stage. Roughly 24, 26, something like that, depending on how optimally you play the stage. Trick, not much to talk about, just another warp there. Elevator antics, now another stage with the super jump roll that isn't exactly mainstream yet, just because if you do get Oil Drum Alley super jump roll, you end up coming here with only 1 Kong, but there is a damageless setup that is being made a little bit more mainstream in order to give players the chance to set up for the super jump roll here. Again, very difficult and still a 1 frame trick, but it does save a pretty good amount of time, mostly because of all these elevator cycles that you end up having to wait on. You see Jacky has to double back in some places, and then this little elevator section skip right here. This is probably the biggest place where you save time, but we do try to cut that down a little bit with this elevator skip he's going to do right here. Kind of spooky. You just sort of roll into that pit and then jump up on a platform that's set up specifically at that point so that you can jump on it. They manipulate the camera in order to have the elevators spawn at the right time. So now on to the 4th and final water stage of the game, Poison Pond. It is filled with all these spiky wheels of death called mincers, and unlike the squidges and bite sizes, those piranhas and the squids that you see, you can't lunge through the mincers and knock them away. So what ends up happening is you have iframes while you're lunging, and the mincers are invulnerable to you, so it's just sort of a standoff, and you end up clipping through them. Like right there on Jacky's screen, there's a triple mincer clip that he kind of messed up the setup for, and looks like Blue doesn't go for it all. But both the players getting that last mincer clip very nicely, and Jacky is free and clear out of this stage at about 35, and Blue is right on his heels, right around 42, so it's about 7-second difference, 6 or 7 seconds. Now they're setting up a trick called rolling through air. So you need to run into the minecart as Donkey, take damage on that bird, and the game actually thinks you never left that catwalk, so it thinks you're still on the ground. And when you're on the ground, you can roll. And anytime you can roll, you can jump out of a roll. So you can permanently just jump and roll and jump and roll. And Blueberry, the legend, has hit a jump roll. So since you can infinitely jump and roll at any time, it sets you up really nicely to do a jump roll off of those couple birds in the beginning there. Again, frame perfect Y press. He needs to press Y to roll as he's about to land on those birds. So it just sends him flying through space in this little peanut animation. Saves about 6 seconds, I'm told, as opposed to how Jacky had to play it out, just rolling and jumping. So he's pretty much caught up here, as you can tell. Screen by screen, they are very close now. Really the only time save here at the end is a couple of tire rolls you can do just to sort of knock these Kremlings out of the cart so you don't have to jump on them. Another note about the jump roll, it looks like he's at the same like vertical height the whole time while he's traveling horizontally, but you do end up dropping sub-pixels every frame. That's important to keep in mind later for another jump roll that hopefully one or both of these runners can hit. So now we're into Blackout Basement, another stage where it's pretty much dark. Here it's different from Torchlight Trouble, where you can mostly see what you're doing. Here it actually goes completely black. So every 62 frames the lights will turn off, and then every 62 frames they'll turn back on. So it's a little bit over a second that you can't see Jacky. Unfortunate death there, very near the end. I didn't know if he grabbed halfway. He did not, so he is now set way back. and Blue has a very decisive lead, probably a good 30 seconds or so. So most of the stage is really just muscle memory and some subtle visual cues that you get while the lights are out. Things like the midway barrel, the DK barrels, and single bananas stay visible while the lights are out. So you can use those and the little bit of clues that you get while the lights are on in order to tell where you are. But for the most part, it's just sort of a feel thing. You just kind of feel where you're supposed to be, roll for whatever feels like is the right amount of time, and then jump at whatever you feel like you're supposed to. So now Blueberry's onto Dumb Drum. Basically, he drops pairs of enemies at you, and you need to successfully dispatch them in order for him to pound on the ground at you. You want to be Donkey for the 4th and 5th sets of enemies, just because he can get rid of them quicker and easier than Diddy can. And again, we get to reap the benefits of that shorter fanfare that Donkey has, as opposed to Diddy. So he's going to finish the boss as Donkey there, and then immediately swap to Diddy coming back in here, because as always, Diddy moves faster than Donkey does. So now Tanked Up Trouble. This is a very long, very boring auto-scroller stage, but there are 2 frame-perfect tricks that we know of so far in this stage that save huge amounts of time. They are the most important tricks in the game, the biggest time savers. The first one, Krem Tut, being set up off of a Kremling, and the second one, Bird Tut, set up off of a bird, one of these vulture guys that you see like right there. Krem Tut saves about 55 seconds. It is a very difficult trick. Bird Tut saves about 42. I don't think... Yeah, Blue's not going for Krem Tut. Wise choice. There are lots of ways to mess it up, and pretty much all of them kill you, but he does go for Bird Tut. So he's setting up here, and he hits it! Blueberry, the legend! He is flying away here, saving massive amounts of time, taking this race by storm. So he's dodged a little bee there, and then he needs to wiggle back and forth right here long enough for this naughty to fall off the catwalk. So remember before I was talking about how you drop subpixels every frame. He needs to use that visual cue for that naughty to walk off the catwalk there in order to drop enough subpixels to go beneath these bees right here specifically. It just sort of works out that when you dodge that first bee and then let the naughty walk off the catwalk, that is just about the right height that you need to be in order to go underneath those bees. Jacky was unfortunately early on his hit there, I believe. I think he was early. I think he rolled through. Either way, he missed it, so that is a huge 40-second time gap that Jacky is not going to make up. So now Blueberry is on to Manic Mincers, the first and only stage where we see everyone's childhood favorite buddy, Rambi the Rhino. He is a little bit unwieldy and difficult to master at first because he has a natural programmed in input delay. So you'll press the B button to jump, and then a few frames later he'll actually execute his jump. Give him the Yoshi treatment just to skip a little platform cycle right there. So Rambi, we salute you. You've done your job. Thank you very much for your service. But ooh, Blue taking damage there. That's all right though. He's gonna enter the bonus to get a DK barrel because he needs to have both Kongs exiting this stage and then entering Misty Mines in order to set up for, yet again, a super jump roll. But he is still very handedly ahead of Jacky here. There is also a super jump roll in Manic Mincers, but that one is not typically viable in a speedrun. Blue, unfortunately, hit the snake that he typically would use, that most runners typically use to execute the super jump roll with. Instead of just going for a backup, he opts, I mean, he might not know it, but he opts to just play out the stage. So that is a juicy 26-second time save waiting for Jacky there. If Jacky can hit that, that's going to give him a fighting chance in this race. But Blue is sitting pretty right now. There are 2 more frame-perfect tricks left. Looper Lights SJR, but I don't believe either of them are going to go for it. Again, not really viable in speedruns. Only saves about 3 seconds at the cost of, I don't know, somewhere in the double digits in order to set it up. Blue taking damage, not a big deal. Another Kong barrel right there. And then there's also a jump roll in platform perils that saves a good chunk of time. We'll see how Jacky does here on Misty Mines SJR. He was late, unfortunately. That's why he got that bounce there. So he's also going to have to play out the stage. And Blue now entering Loopy Lights, the last stage where the devs have turned out the lights on you, and you get to turn them back on with those little on-off barrels. Whenever you touch them, it just turn the lights on. But like Torchlight Trouble, it's not really that dark. Like, you can still see what you're doing. You can still see some things like the bananas. You can see the Claptrap's eyes and whatnot. So you still have a lot of visual cues as to where you are in your movement and what you need to do and all that. So the difference with the Claptraps in this stage and why they're jumping, they are specifically programmed, they're specifically different from all the other ones. They're actually purple to denote this as opposed to blue. They jump when you jump. They follow you in your movements that way. So they don't jump as high as you do, so you can bounce on top of them. But it's just tricky to adjust to in when you're first learning and whatnot. So Blueberry getting the Mankey roll at the very end of Loopy Lights. Nice job. Now he's heading into Platform Perils, the last platforming stage of the game. Very difficult. What's going on here? I'm not sure why he did that, but I guess he wanted to. I don't know. I actually don't know. But he is now going to set up for the jump roll right here, and he hits it. Wow, Blueberry is almost definitely going to win this first race here. No commentator's curse, but he basically doesn't even have to do anything for the rest of this platforming stage, and then he just has two bosses left, which are I don't want to say easy, but it's you have to pretty much focus on losing on them. They're at this player level, like the level that Jacky and Blueberry play. It's pretty tough to mess up one of these bosses tragically enough that you end up dying. So Blueberry hits, let's see, Minecart Madness, jump roll, Tanked Up Trouble, Birdtut, and Platform Perils, jump roll. So 3 very good frames from Blue. I think Jacky came up empty. Pretty sure he did not hit a single frame. He missed Platform Perils jump roll as well there, so now you get to see a whole bunch of good platforming through the end here. Very tricky stage, lots of cool stuff to do, lots of cool stuff to watch. Blue also, I'm not sure if it was intentional, but is doing the donkey route for the end of the game with K. Rool. It does actually save time. It's not just something to do for swag. Ooh, very close on Jacky's screen. That always makes me scared. But Jacky is out of perils and now needs to beat Neki and just hope for Blue to give up the ghost on K. Rool here. That's honestly his only chance at coming back. So a little bit of swag tech that you can do as Donkey. There's a trick called a slap slide. If you hold down and Y, I don't think Blue's going to do it, but Donkey will slap the ground. You can use it to break open patches in the ground and whatnot. You can beat up enemies with it, and you actually get a banana when you do. If you press down and Y, and on the same frame press either right or left, you will do that slap, but you'll also do it in a direction at, I believe, run speed. So it's not useful in any way in terms of speed runs, but it is some cool tech to do and a frame perfect trick. I've heard tales that if you do it as you're landing coming down from a jump, it widens the window to 2 frames. I haven't seen any proof of that yet though. So now Blue on to the credits, and Jacky pretty close behind on the cannonball phase of K. Rool. Again, he's just hoping for a death here. There is nothing else he can do to speed up his run as opposed to Blue's. And looks like Blue's going to end with a pretty nice 35, a low 35. Just one phase left here. Of course, getting debated by the fake credits, as we always have. And, oh, see, there you go. On Jacky's screen, he's showing off the slap slides for you. Last hit coming up. And the first one goes to blue. All right. So, Blueberry takes the first one. And up to Jacky now to work his way back, fight his way back, take this one from the jaws of defeat, or Blueberry's going to be able to close it out 2-0. We're going to see. Jacky taking damage there. Not sure if that was intentional, but if it was, he's going to have a long way to go. He's going to have to refight all of K. Rool. The nice part, though, if he were to die at this point, it skips the fake credits and K. Rool just gets back up again immediately. So that's kind of a nice thing. All right, so Jacky just almost exactly 1 minute behind Blueberry. So between Platform Perils and Bird Tut, that's almost enough. So it looks like between the 3 frames that Blue hits, Platform Perils jump roll, Bird Tut, and Minecart Madness jump roll, the 3 of those add together to be about a minute. So that's just about what put Blue ahead. So these runners are pretty much on par in terms of how their movement went. So this one really just came down on the frames, and good on Blue for pulling it out. Kind of funny that he hit all of these jump rolls and only the jump rolls as opposed to the super jump rolls. Kind of a oddity right there. Jacky is asking for a couple-minute break to stretch. He is battling tendinitis right now, so kudos to him for putting up through that. And kudos to Blue as well with taking this first match. I will say that there were not a whole lot of people in their brackets and the voting that picked Blue over Jacky. So this is, as was mentioned before, huge potential for an upset right here with Blue leading this 1-0. Jacky also has, I believe, like a 33.04 for his personal best, so he's right on that cusp of 32, which is really considered like the top tier and the most elite players in this category. Blueberry is still trying to climb his way into the ranks of 33s. I believe he's got like a mid or low 34. He's also been focusing on other games as well. So his attention is a little bit divided between all the Donkey games, in my opinion, as it should be. Probably shouldn't focus on one too much, or you risk burning out, like a lot of people do. But either way, lots of good races coming up. If this is the first you're hearing of the tournament, there is a challenge page I see has been linked in chat. Check that out. There's also a schedule you can see when your favorite runners are racing, when they're set to race, on what channel at what time. And the races are only going to get better as the tournament goes on and we get towards those semifinals, grand finals, and whatnot, where we have literally the top of the community racing each other in best of 3 sets. All right, the runners are readied up for race number 2. Getting it started here in a second for you. An important thing to note between races, if you're going to do there are animal tokens that you will typically gather throughout the speedrun, just ones that are sort of in the route as you play the game. If you get 3 of them, you get entered into an Animal Buddy bonus where you gather small tokens, and when you get 100, you get a life and whatnot. The only problem is it wastes a lot of time in a speedrun, and as there is no speed benefit to it. Once you come out of the bonus game, it sends you back to the beginning of the level, and they're about 2 minutes long, so no benefit there, and we are very well synced up right now. This is impressive. Blue unfortunately missing the extendo there in 1-1. So Jackie's got a terrifying lead right now, but really, in the grand scheme of things, anything can happen. Anybody can win. It's anybody's game. It's anybody's frame. So back onto Roby Rampage. A very important reason to sacrifice Donkey in 1-1 is you end up getting a lot of lag in this stage if you have both Kongs, just to having a lot of sprites on the screen. Jackie unfortunately missed the auto barrel into the bonus there. So just like that, his lead has vanished. That is a very atypical mistake for runners of this caliber to make. But as I said before, still anybody's frame, anybody's game, and he can come back from this in no problem. Alright, so back into Reptile Rumble. You're going to see on Blue's side maybe more of the things that you didn't get to see last time, like these nice rolls that he has between the enemies and the crawl space zip right there. He actually went for the zip. Good for him. So as I was talking about before, if you jump into a crawl space and you are over halfway through, If you press the Y button to zip through, or if you press the Y button to roll, it zips you out to whichever side you're closer to. So the goal is to jump in more than halfway and then press Y to zip out the other side, as you just saw on Jacky's screen as well. And couple of very nice crawl spaces there at the end by Jacky, and also getting all 4 snakes. He's rolling deep, rolling fast. He's catching up. So as you noticed in, or hopefully noticed in Croctopus Chase before, it's all about cutting corners, how fast you can go underwater, and that carries over into all water stages here as well. There is some sort of subtle tech when riding on guard. You sort of get this little speed boost, this little extra bump if you lunge going around a corner. So you'll see a lot of runners typically do that, and you can definitely see when it happens. You can see that little like extra lunge of little extra burst of speed that you get. Both players getting shark skip there. Basically, just when you go around that last corner that Jacky went around, sometimes you end up lunging through that shark that's in your way just because of its positioning. When you knock away enemies, typically due to the explosion sprite that pops up on the screen, it lags the game for 1 frame. I think it's usually just 1 frame, but it also depends on what else is on the screen, what else is going on. So that is a 1 frame save there, but it also lets you know that your movement is a little bit more optimal. You're cutting your corners a little bit better, because the fastest way from any place to any other place is a straight line, as opposed to this big arcing curve. And now on to Naughty. So just like the second Naughty fight, you want to hit him as he's coming down from the apex of his jump. His jumps here are really small, so the savings may seem small, but they can add up to well over a full second, having a little bit more optimal hits. And I do expect Jacky to have some pretty good ones. You see, he's like, Naughty isn't even back on the ground yet, and he's still hitting him. So that is what it looks like to fight that boss optimally. Jacky probably not happy with that 4:01 World 1 exit time. The fastest recorded is 3:41, so that's by no means typical though. Something typical from Jacky is more like a 3:43. That's usually what I see him exit World 1 with. And I think Blue is not quite in the 3:43 territory in his speedruns, but I have seen him get like 3:45s and stuff, so he is pretty up there, and that's a very minimal difference, especially for a World 1. Back into Bouncy Bonanza. So here, hopefully I get to point out B-skip to you guys. Blue and Jacky both go for it, but Jacky seemed to have a little bit of trouble with it last time. It's very... I shouldn't say it's very precise, but it is a precise trick, and you have to jump into the crawl space such that you can jump out of it. So first half and second half as well. Interesting there, he didn't even roll. I wonder if he meant to and just didn't, but usually you roll through that space with the bees and then into the next crawl space. I'll see Jacky do it here, or you already did, I guess. He is faster than I thought he was, and making up a lot of good time on Blue already. So Blue exited about 5:31, and Jacky is just about 9 seconds back. So another thing that I didn't get to mention last time, in Stop and Go Station, there's this exclusive enemy called the Rock Croc. They are woken up and put to sleep based upon these Stop and Go barrels, hence the name of the stage. But the thing is, even when they're woken up, as long as you're rolling, they can't hurt you. So much like when you clip through enemies with On Guard, it's sort of just a standoff. You don't hurt them, they don't hurt you, and you just clip right through. So Blueberry back on Millstone Mayhem, sets up the super jump, no problem. And he is out of there. Jacky doing the same. There is a different setup. Looks like Jacky's going to go for it. Yep, so that is much closer to what the task does. Saves, I don't know, handful of frames, fraction of a second, but it is still faster than the setup that Blue used. That just might be whatever Blue's comfortable with. And, ooh, Blue unfortunately taking damage there, so he's going to have to do what Jacky did I think it was Jackie. I don't know. One of them took damage on this fight last time. So they're going to come in to Vulture Culture as Diddy, and they're going to have to get Donkey back in order to use the Donkey exclusive Warp Barrel here in Vulture Culture. This one is also different from other Warp Barrels in that it's actually on a timer. You do have to get there in a certain amount of time, and it's only visible when Donkey is in front. As you can see, it just appeared when he swapped. So it's a little bit more that Jackie's going to be able to make up on him. Not too detrimental though, just because you get to play the beginning of the stage as Diddy. So you do sort of theoretically save a little bit there, but you do lose the time over finishing Necky as Donkey, and then also the time that you lose having to swap. Both players through Treetop Town very easily. A lot of players used to do a tire roll coming out of the warp there, but it was actually found to be slower. So now Blue setting up for the super jump again. I assume he's still going to go for the super jump roll. And he hits it. So he is off and away on this race already. Jackie setting up as well. And it looks like he just opted for the safe route. He didn't even double back, so he did not attempt the super jump roll. So this is, I believe, about 20 seconds that Blueberry is saving over Jackie right now. As you can see, his screen is scrolling very quickly because he rolled through 4 enemies, which is the max roll speed. It ends up doubling your regular roll speed, so call your roll speed 100%. You get basically an additional 25% for every enemy you roll through. So he was basically rolling at 200% speed through the entirety of the stage. And that is the fastest theoretical speed that we know of, aside from another trick called Barrel Boost. But that one, you can't, to our knowledge, you can't really extend for an entire stage. So now back into Temple Tempest. Again, lots of good rolls, skipping ropes, extendos, and whatnot. Tricky one right there that Blue is going for. Yep, very nice. And now Jackie's going to do follow up, do the same. I believe, yeah, I don't think either player goes for the what we call Fabby roll, rolling through that last naughty wheel that Jackie just went by, but there is this very nice double extender right here. And Jackie actually was, he actually mistimed it a little bit, but I think he recognized that and he jumped out of it before falling into the pit. So now Blue going back for map warp and gets first try, very nice. You lose 1 second for every odd missed attempt and then 2 seconds for every even missed attempt, just because of the way that the map works out. The corners. So basically every 2 attempts you lose 3 seconds. So when Jackie got 9th try, what's that? He ended up losing like 19 seconds or something. Jackie also getting first try, so he's gotten over that trouble that he had last time around, and he is now clear through O-Gang and well on Blue's heels, going into Clam Chowder. There are different techniques and different routes that players will take through this stage, but they don't vary too much, just because there's really one path from here to there. It's basically just where some players will take their lunges and how tight they cut the corners and whatnot. For the most part, it's pretty set in stone. Blue going for Clam Clip there, but unfortunately mistimed his last lunge a little bit. Took damage on the clam. Very small loss, not a big deal, but it is something that Jackie typically goes for and typically gets, so he'll save the very brief moments of freeze frames that Blue got when you take damage. And very easy clam flip. Nice job. Didn't mention it before, but there's a quick hit that you get at the start of Bumblebee Rumble. You see on Jackie's screen right here, he hits the B at the top of the screen, and that just sort of sets up the B cycles a little bit more, sets them to be a little bit more clean, so that you can hit the Queen Bee while she's at the bottom of the screen, and much more accessible as opposed to the top of the screen. Because if you hit her while she's on the bottom, then she becomes invulnerable, or she becomes vulnerable again near the top. So this just sort of flips that script and just makes it much more quick. In addition to getting that hit as quickly as possible and saving the time there, it just sets up all the further cycles to be much easier. Blue going barrel boost right now. Very nice. He had to turn back a little bit, but that's okay. So barrel boost, all you really do, you hold the barrel with one of the Kongs, and if you are holding a barrel and jump off of a ledge, just the last pixel of any platform, it shoots you out a little bit faster than normal, and I do believe it is faster than fastest roll speed. The funny thing about slopes is the entire slope is considered a ledge. Every pixel of the slope is considered a ledge, so it makes barrel boost completely free there. You just hold right and Y and then press B to jump, and it boosts you out. Now Blue going back into Slipside Ride. This stage with an exclusive tile set and exclusive song you don't see in any other stage. Second try out of bounds clip. Very nice. As opposed to having to switch to Donkey, which is what the developers intended you to do, since Diddy can't normally reach that warp barrel on his own, he just doesn't jump high enough. The developers made it so that it's typically only accessible by Donkey, just because he sort of raises up his knuckles a little bit higher, and they just brush the very bottom of that semi-camouflaged warp barrel. Jacky having a little bit of trouble with the out of bounds clip as well, but he also gets it. So Diddy can't normally get to it, so what they expect you to do is to use Donkey to jump up into it. But swapping loses time, so we use that out of bounds trick there to save these swaps back and forth and just stay Diddy the whole time. So you can see Blue running down that slope right there, saving a little bit of time as to jumping. And there's a bonus barrel that he passed right there. It's very... I shouldn't say tricky. It's pretty easy once you've done it enough, but if you don't mash fast enough as you try to jump across that section, you'll end up going into that bonus barrel and lose a pretty significant amount of time, just because you have to... Well, it sends you into the bonus, and then you have to like wait for a little animation to stop, and you get shot out at the bottom. Jacky making it over it as well. But as you saw there, he did take damage. He was a little bit low, so now he's going to have to finish the stage without the bird, which can be tricky for a lot of players, but it looks like he knows what he's doing and is free and clear out of that stage. Can be really spooky to not have the bird on that stage, especially if you're not practiced with it, but he handled that like a champ. One of the important things when trying to cut corners as optimally as you can in Aquatic Ambiance or any, in Croctopus Chase or any water stage is to sort of hang back on the opposite wall of where you want to end up turning. So if you want to turn to the right, you want to hang on the left-hand wall so that you start going to the right more a little bit earlier, such that when you actually clear the wall, you're moving at full speed and you don't have to deal with that acceleration period. Give you guys a second just to enjoy Aquatic Ambiance and the glory that it is. So we use an audio cue to tell basically how well you did in that stage. There's that little piano refrain that you heard at the end. And if you don't hear that at all, we like to call that pianoless. And that's pretty much reserved for the top players. Some top tier players of this game still have yet to get a pianoless croctopus chase, just because it is very tight and you have to cut every corner pretty much optimally, and you also have to be very fast when swimming upwards. Blue makes his way out of Torchlight Trouble, no problem whatsoever. Hopefully Jacky can follow up. And onto Rope Bridge Rumble. Again, super jump roll here, but Blue opting not to go for it. I think he used to go for it, but he started just like not having a whole lot of success with it and ended up cutting it out of his run. But I do believe he knows how to do it. Same with Jacky as well. I think Jacky just went safe route last time, opted not to go for it, just because it is a pretty huge cost just to set up to go for it. Blue, unfortunately, didn't get the jump there in between the two cycle skips, so he luckily got halfway, but he is set back a little bit there, not getting that second cycle skip. Has redemption though the second time around, makes it no problem. There's also a back boost here I don't know if he goes for. He opts not to. That's fine. It only saves a handful of frames or something like that. It's very, very minimal. Actually, it's probably like a full second or something. I don't know. So now on to the second beaver fight again. And I guess Blue doesn't even go for the corners there. But hopefully we'll get to see that on Jacky's screen as well, as we did last time. Pretty simple boss. You just let him jump back and forth and bop him on the head as he comes down. Jacky unfortunately mistimed coming down on that last one, so a little bit there. Looks like the runners are about 7 seconds apart. There's a little bit of a discrepancy here. Streams have apparently become desynced, but Blueberry hits. Oh no! He hit ODA, but he unfortunately mistimed his wiggles back and forth in order to get the fourth baddie. So he was going for 4 baddie ODA, which is, as I mentioned before, the fastest that you can move in the game, but he unfortunately bonked the wall there, and now I'm sure he is just reeling right now after that death that he took. But he did get halfway, so he is still in good shape. He is just behind Jacky, but unfortunately taking another death there. I think he might be a little bit rattled and might be cursing to himself after that unfortunate set of circumstances that just happened there. But again, he's still well within striking distance, and he definitely can come back from this with one press of the Y button, if it so happens. He's gonna make it through this last section here. It does a little bit of a different setup though. That's interesting. I guess he takes it a little bit safer. It is a very tricky end section. You have to do a tire roll and roll off the edge of those fuel drums, which you have about 2 pixels, I think, or something like that, in order to actually roll off the edge of those drums. So now Jacky back into elevator antics. Again, there is a super jump roll here, but it is pretty tricky, and neither player is opting to go for it. But Jacky threw the bonus. That is the second bonus that we normally take in order to shave off some time on the speedrun, just because it cuts out a large portion of the stage. Blue might be having some words to himself, probably a little bit upset with his performance, but he is still in the lead in this match set. He is still up 1-0, so even if he completely botches this race, he still has a round 3 to look forward to. So he really just needs to find his calm, keep calm and press Y, as we like to say sometimes. And if he doesn't come back in this one, he still has a fresh, brand new race coming up next time. Yeah, he is definitely Probably tilting a little bit, playing with his emotions rather than a clear mind. But that's all right. Again, he probably still could come back just from a series of events, whether it be hitting frames or some unfortunate events on Jacky's side, but he definitely still has the chance to come back here, and if not, he still has that round 3. Jacky was going for triple mincer clip, but it looked like he didn't trust his setup for the second mincer. Only went for the first one and then turned back, but he still is clear out of Poison Pond now, and Blueberry just entering, so he is almost the full stage behind. Jacky going in for rolling through air again. I think he just completely opted out of the jump roll last time, didn't even attempt it, because if... Oh, he actually looks like he did go for it there. So the thing with the jump roll here, if you are early, and you press Y early, you roll before you make connection with the bird, that's fine. You just end up rolling. Depending on how close you are to the bird, sometimes you'll roll through the bird, sometimes you just roll completely over, as Jacky did. But if you are late and you do not press the Y button in time and you actually connect with the bird, you actually bounce on the bird, you lose your rolling through air state, because the game no longer thinks that you are on that catwalk anymore, and it knows that you bounced off the bird, so you just plummet to your death because there is nowhere for you to land, unfortunately. Blue out of Poison Pond, no big deal, and now heading back into Minecart Madness. We'll see if he can get the jump roll again here. Interesting setup, though. I wonder if that was intentional to roll through that first bird. He lost, it looks like he dropped an input there and started falling very rapidly, but he did catch himself. He doesn't opt to go back and make another attempt at the frame, and he's dropped another one there. Looks like he might be, and another. He is either just panicking a little bit, or he might have something wrong with his controller. Not sure. He might just trying to be rush things a little bit too much. If you press Y to roll as you are still going upwards in your jump, it won't read your Y input, so he might just be trying to do things a little bit too quickly because he feels a little bit nervous under pressure and whatnot. Jacky through Blackout Basement, no problem this time. Very nice redemption from the last run, where he unfortunately took a death. And now on to Dum Drum. Some players opt to do the first few cycles as Diddy because they feel it's a little bit easier to make connection with the enemies that Dum Drum gives to you. First 3 sets being a couple of critters, then a couple of slippas, these snakes, and then a couple claptraps right there. You can bounce on all 3 of them as Diddy as well as Donkey. But the final 2 sets, the clumps and the armies, Diddy cannot jump on the clumps. He just sort of gets knocked back, so you have to roll through them, actually. And the... Oh, unfortunately taking damage there. He was trying to show off a little bit too much. So you saw he had to roll into the armies first, and then to stop their roll, and then once they were stopped, he had to roll through them again. So you'll lose a little bit of time there being Diddy, as well as having Diddy's fanfare as opposed to Donkey's fanfare. But you do... Oh, he's gonna opt not even to get Donkey back. He might save a little bit of time here in lag frames, depending on what goes on. And he will save time as well by only having 1 Kong on the overworld if he stays solo Diddy all the way until Mincers, and beyond then, theoretically, up until probably midway through Mincers is when he would get Donkey back. There's a DK barrel that's on your way, but he does run the risk of dying here if he has a bad setup for Bird Tut. If you don't set up this trick correctly and the bird is not in the correct position, if you run into it and don't bounce off of it, you end up getting hit. His setup might have been good, might not have. We don't really know, just because he rolled through. You can roll through the bird either if your setup is good or not. But the thing is, if you are late on the Y press, either you will bounce off of the bird if your setup is good, or you will get hit by him if you don't have the bird in the right position. So he does end up getting donkey back, and he is now just waiting to see if blue can follow up and get bird tut again on this round. Again, saves about 42 seconds. Not exactly sure how far ahead Jacky is, but he does have a pretty sizable lead right now. He might still be... Let's see... 25-8. Yeah, so he does still have more than enough time. Even if blue hits bird tut, he's still well ahead. So blue is also going to need something else. Another frame over Jacky, or just Jacky to have some sort of misfortune in order to catch up here. And that is not what blue wanted to see. Looks like, don't want to call things too early, but at this point it's pointing towards a game 3 in favor of Jacky winning this one. He does have a pretty sizable lead with only 4 platforming stages left. So we'll see how things pan out. But usually for runners of this caliber, they don't typically make mistakes that would switch favor by over a minute this late in the run. Most players are pretty practiced up on these stages just because they know if they get here and they're all you know, on PB pace or whatever, their nerves might be up, but you know you need to practice these a lot. So you kind of get nerves of steel towards the end. Again, Jacky giving Rambi the Yoshi treatment, tossing him into a pit in order to skip a platform there. And out of pincers. Going to be going back into Misty Mines again and set up for the super jump roll here. Diddy off the top of the screen, super jump is charged, and he also threw the barrel a bit early, but he's going to go for the backup, and he hits it. Okay, and he gets 3 snake. Wow, so that is about 26 seconds. Maybe a little bit less because he went for the backup there. So as I was mentioning before, when blue went for Misty, but threw the barrel at the snake and killed the snake, you can do a little bit of a backup there where you let a snake come out of that last dumb drum and just follow that one and do your super jump roll off that snake. He did let go a little bit late, so he had to hover in the air a little bit there before coming down, but still, that is just about the last nail in the coffin for blue in this game too. So now only 2 stages left for Jacky. Blue still working on Manic Mincers, still has then Misty Mines in order to catch up to Jacky all the way in Loopy Lights. Gonna see blue see if he can follow up here on Jacky's frame perfect trick. And he was late, unfortunately, there. That's why he got a little jump there instead of a roll. So he is losing a fair bit of time here, having to play out this stage, as opposed to Jacky doing that elevating cartwheel, as we call it sometimes, over the top of the stage through 3 baddies. So essentially at 175% roll speed. And now through Loopy, and he is going into platform perils. He is pretty well ahead in this one due to blue's misfortune in ODA. This could have gone very differently, let me remind you, because blue did hit the frame in ODA and had the super jump roll, but he bonked on the wall, then had to play out the stage and took, I believe, 2 deaths. Jacky, unfortunately, with a bad setup there on Platform Perils jump roll, he jumped a little bit late, so that caught the attention of the first army, and he had to deal with him. I'm going to take it safer this time around and take Donkey with him. He may or may not be watching blue or the restream. I don't think he typically watches other runners as he races. He might just be opting for this a little bit of safety there, just because he knows he's on pretty decent pace. All things considered, in a race situation, he's still on pretty good pace. Again, does not get the jump roll there, however, so he is going to have to play out this stage. Lots of good platforming, though. Some good cycle skips and stuff. Nice little double extender right there. That's one of my favorites. I like to call that the free double naughty extendo. Free being spelled $0.0.00. Blue having a little bit of doubt there, it looks like, as to what he's supposed to do on that barrel section. Jackie showing off golden barrel, I believe, if I saw correctly. Yeah, that was a golden barrel there. So now Blue, unfortunately, taking a death there on the last, well, second to last enemy, the Mankey. He can be a trickster. So that is probably going to do it for Blue in this race too. So now he really just has to clear his mind, finish out this race, but then clear his mind, go into this next one, saying that it's completely independent of the other races, and he's just going to have to do his thing, come back, and race as if, you know, it's do or die. He would be sent to the loser's bracket if he does lose this match, but he does still have a chance to move on here, stay in the winner's bracket if he can pull out this next one in Game 3. Blue, unfortunately, was late there on the platform perilous jump roll. That would have been nice. That would have been a little bit of a peace of mind for him if he ended up getting that and then didn't have to play out the stage. The nice thing about platform perilous jump roll is you don't have to do anything. You just hit it and you fly straight to the end. There's no enemies that you worry about getting in the way. There's no mine carts or anything like in Minecart Madness. You just fly straight to the end. Blue having a little bit of difficulty with the so-called free double naughty extendo. I guess it's not completely free. Not giving up though, and he's gonna go for it again, it looks like. He's already gone for it twice. And he unfortunately seems to be pressing Y too soon. He's not getting enough of a boost there out of his extendo in order to get to the next platform. But he is a man of pride, and he goes for a fourth round, I think that would have been. But he did catch himself there and realized that he wasn't quite going to make it, and instead, I don't know if there's a name for that. Typically jumping over that crusher there is called dumb trick, or dumb jump, pardon me. But he did a little bit of an alternate strat there where he back boosted off the guy. Unfortunately there, went for another risky strat, and it did not pay off. So he's really going to have to just, yeah, it looked like he just straight up opted out of that one. He didn't think that he was going to make it. Yeah, well, he's still going for the tough stuff. He's not giving up on it. I'm sure he's practiced it and this is what he knows, but it's definitely not easy. Going for the double back boost does save a pretty considerable amount of time over playing it out normally, but unfortunately it is a little bit too little too late this time around. But he's looking at about 3 minutes from here, a little bit less, to the end of the game. Really just has to shake that one off and go again. Jackie finishing with a 35.04, so a little bit behind Blue's first run. And Blue's looking at about a 38.28 or so coming up here on this run, so that is not quite what you like to see in a race situation, but there is still that third run going. Jacky's not quite the winner? What do you mean? He definitely won this race. So there's a little bit of swag that you can go for as Diddy. Looks like Blue either doesn't know for it or just decides not to go for it. You can stand actually on a set of few pixels such that the cannonballs fall around you. Either he doesn't know where that is or he's just choosing not to go for it. But if you have Donkey out front, typically you do the slap slides and whatnot. But if you have Diddy out front, you sit in between the cannonballs. Other than that, it's pretty much just a glorified cutscene most of the time. Yeah, it says winner because he won this race. Usually they put the winner thing under whoever won whichever race, just to denote for people that are coming in late or whatever to who won like which race or whatever. As you can see, he still only has 1 out of the 2 bananas on the bottom right, and Blue only has 1 out of the 2 bananas, meaning that they only have 1 win each so far in this best of 3 series. Oh, he had both banana bunches lit up at first. I didn't know that. Should have only been 1. It's not like they went double or nothing on this last race. That'd have been interesting. Alright, so that 38-28 from Blue there, and probably going to take a little bit of time in between this race one for both the runners to sort of relax, gather their thoughts, and mentally prepare for this last one. This one decides who moves on. Let's pull up the bracket here. This one decides who moves on to face the winner of Peachy versus KBZ, but I do believe KBZ has withdrawn from the tournament. So I believe the winner of this one is going to end up facing Peachy, and the loser is going down to face Mozzarella Cheese. Peachy, at one point, world record holder in multiple categories of this game, including this category. Mozzarella Cheese is a little bit newer to this game, but he is quickly improving, and believe he has like a 35, 36 or something like that, some mid 35. So he does have a pretty reasonable time for how long he's been running the game himself. Again, just going to take a little bit of an intermission here between the races, let the runners stretch out, clear their thoughts, relax, and get ready for round 3. All right. Getting set here for the third and final race between bluebeary26 and IWannaBeYourJacky. Looks like Jackie's stream is a little bit ahead of Blue's. Gonna get them synced up for you again. Notice they were a bit out of sync at the end of the last race. Again, we come in, get Diddy, get rid of Donkey, do the extendo. Blue unfortunately had a little trouble and jump through the guys, and we are out of 1-1. Streams now synced for you, and moving on to 1-2. So now that we've seen 2 races already, I've explained, for the most part, I think just about everything in terms of tricks and tech. I am ready for all your questions. I'll do my best to read chat as they go through these last stages here, through this last run. I will try to point out fun and interesting things that happen as they do, but for the most part, if you've been here since the beginning, you've probably seen just about everything there is to see in these runs, so it's mostly going to come down to who's able to pull off what. Does him hop? Yeah, man. He hop. Him hop. Blue having a little bit of trouble with the zip there. You see he went back to the left side. He wasn't more than halfway through, so it zipped him out to whichever side was closer. That happened to be the left side. A little bit unfortunate there. Demand to redo the Frieza and Jackie stream could have taken place. Actually, it was the 2 streams being synced up. Jackie's timer was a little bit ahead of Blue's, so for the restream, they were just synced up there. Frog good friend, pond hob swim good frog hob hop. Yes. Jackie cutting those corners very closely, staying pretty close to the croctopus. Having a pretty good coral caper so far. There's actually a separate restream through Speed Gaming that we use to watch the restream. It's actually what is rebroadcast to you guys, and that's how my voice is synced up with the stream itself, because I'm watching it as the stream is capturing it. The snake? You're a little bit early on that one, Anankos. You just got here, so let's have that commentary. Alright, so 1-5, Barrel Cannon Canyon, mostly just automatic barrels across the top of the stage. There is one little extender you come back down to do. Both players got it, and Jackie is out of Barrel Cannon Canyon. He's looking at probably a 343, yeah, exit from World 1, which is a very good time. Yeah, 343. Good for you, Jackie. Pulling it off in a race situation, not bad. Blue getting a 350, so he is 7 seconds behind coming out of World 1. Not too much in the grand scheme of things, but that is quote-unquote free time that he just sort of bled through movement mistakes and whatnot over Jackie. Lots of good movement here in Winky's Walkway. A couple extendos. One satisfying roll through that bird, little double back there. Very satisfying stage to play out. Jackie opting not to skip the barrel. You can roll through that barrel as opposed to picking it up. I think Blue rolls through. Yeah, Blue rolls through the barrel as opposed to picking up. Saves about a quarter of a second or so. The tricky part about it is that the button used to roll, which is Y, and which also lets you run, is the same button that you use to pick up objects like barrels. So you have to tap Y to start your roll and then release it so that you don't pick up the barrel, and then jump. And you also have to repress Y once you're in the air in order to make it over that auto barrel there. Otherwise, you get shot across that gap into a minecart, which is the intended way to play that level, but it's very, very slow. So we opt out and take that warp. Both players executing B-skip, no problem, saves about 4 seconds. I don't believe either player goes for spooky jump. Jackie might have, I missed it. Some good tire rolls. Blue opts not to go for those as well. Basically face death if you don't do them. So if you mess them up rather. And since we don't get midway in that stage just because it's so far out of the way, you end up losing about 30 seconds or so. Jackie and Blue both through stop and go station, no problem. Now Jackie's setting up that super jump. Gonna take damage with Donkey here on that slope. Donkey goes off the top of the screen. That sets up your super jump state. When he gets Donkey back, pops on that Crusher, and he gets shot upwards into that Donkey exclusive warp barrel. And then finishes out the stage. Blue following up nicely. And now Jackie is into Necky's nuts. He's looking at some sort of 630 high. Very good World 2 exit time. Yeah, 6:36. Very nice. He's ever so slightly behind PB right now. Essentially on PB pace. I don't know if he's gonna go for Forest Frenzy SJR, which is something that is in his PB. So he would lose a lot of theoretical time there if he doesn't go for it or if he misses it, as opposed to his PB. Jackie bouncing off of the bird there after the warp. That's a little bit unusual. Pretty free. You just hold right and you miss the guy. It's kind of funny because if you hold Y, you actually get shot out faster, and it propels you to the ground more quickly, so you actually don't go far enough to the right to get past the bird, and you end up bouncing on the bird. Normally you want to hold Y through this whole game pretty much, because Y is the button that makes you go fast, but there are some places specifically where you do not want to hold Y. Another interesting thing about the control scheme of this game, X is unused, so if they wanted to, they could have put interact, like pick up barrels and whatnot, on the X button, but instead they overlapped it on Y. Speaking of super jump rolls, Jackie is on PB pace, and Blue unfortunately was a little bit late on that Y press, so Blue is losing another 20 seconds or so to Jackie right here. Jackie getting the Forest Frenzy super jump roll. So he is pretty decisively in the lead right now, about 30 seconds ahead, I would guess. And now into Temple Tempest. Again, lots of good platforming in this stage, some cool extendos, some rope skips like that one right there, and the mechanic we use to skip those ropes is the extendo, for those of you who are just turning in. Extendos, you press Y to roll, release it as you go through an enemy, and then repress it afterwards, and it refreshes your roll. You get a brand new roll with more roll speed as if you rolled through an enemy. Nice double extendo right there. Again, it looks like he was early on that second repress, on that second Y repress. So he was going to fall into the pit. Either he knew that or he just has really fast reaction times and jumped out before it even looked like he was descending. Now he's going to go for that map warp. On the overworld of World 1, there are 4 corners between some stages. If you press Y when you're on one of those corners with a single Kong, you cannot do it with both Kongs, because one of your Kongs will always be moving. Gets first try. Cannot do it with multiple Kongs. You either need to have only Donkey, only Diddy, or both of your Kongs or any arrangement of them inside the Funky's Flights barrel. You need to have one sprite on the overworld, because you can only enter stages when your Kongs aren't moving, and if you have 2 Kongs, your second Kong will always start 10 frames after your first Kong. So when you go through those corners, your one Kong will stop there for 1 frame. Meanwhile, the other one will still be moving for the next 10 frames until they get to that corner, at which time your first Kong has already moved on. So it just doesn't work out with 2 Kongs. Now on to Clam Chowder. Jacky going through the shark pits, around the clam, and skipping that DK barrel, saving some frames there. You do lose those same 10 frames anytime you go between stages having 2 Kongs. Setting up for clamp clip, gets it no problem. And now he's on to Queen Bee. Gets the early hit, no problem there. So his cycles will be set up such that the queen is vulnerable on the bottom there. Much easier to manage. Blue got Donkey back, so it doesn't matter so much that he went through that barrel there. He's already losing the same lag frames that he would for having 2 Kongs, and he's also going to lose those additional 10 frames between stages. Doesn't quite get clam clip there, so he lost a little bit of time. Jacky's still on very good pace. Low 11 exit from World 3 is what anybody would call top tier in this game. Blue unfortunately messing up his cycles here on the B, so he's going to have a little bit of a time loss there. You see, she wasn't vulnerable quite when he was at the bottom. Jacky looks like he went for a Zera roll and took damage on it, so he was a little bit late there, unfortunately. You're going to miss out on barrel boost here. You can still get the first one, but you just can't use the second one. Donkey just doesn't go far enough, fast enough. And he is going to get Diddy back right here on this slope. Kind of tricky to swap your Kongs back, because your Kongs have to be on even ground in order to swap back. Although, it's kind of interesting. They have to be at the same vertical height, but they don't both have to be on the ground. So there's a very curious instance where you jump up onto a platform or something. So your trailing Kong is still jumping up, still following you, but not quite on the ground yet. But as long as they're at an even height, you can still swap. Blue getting barrel boost, so it makes up a little bit of time on Jacky there. Now Jacky into slip side ride, gonna go for that out of bounds clip up top. Easy every time. And takes the warp. Not going for under the B. I don't know if he typically goes for it and runs. I don't think he does. Most players find it to be a risk not worth the reward. Saves about 1/4 of a second or so at the expense of losing Diddy. From the freeze frames alone, that's about a second or so, and then I think a second and a half to get Diddy back, and then another, I think, a second in order to swap back to Diddy, because you do want Diddy in front while you're riding the ostrich. As I said before, your speed on any of the animal buddies is proportional to your Kong speed that's riding them. So the nice part about On Guard is his move speed is proportional to whichever Kong is riding him, but both the Kongs have the same swim speed. So even though you may be Donkey riding On Guard, it is just as fast as Diddy riding On Guard. And it looks like his hitbox is like super tall or whatever when Donkey rides On Guard, but you actually just have the hitbox of the fish. It doesn't matter that Donkey's huge underwater compared to Diddy. So it's a little bit of redemption there for Donkey, where he's not necessarily better, he's just not bad. Jacky cutting some good corners here in Proctopus Chase, maintaining as much of his speed as he can around those corners, try to shave down that time. I don't know if he has ever gotten a pianoless Proctopus Chase, but he is pretty good. I'm sure he's been close. We'll see how he does this time around, because we do have his audio going for you this time around since he's in front. Second best bird animal buddy. Love that he has sneakers. He's got to go fast, man. He's got those turbo trainers. Who is the best bird animal buddy then in Uncos? Squawks and Quawks. I don't know about that. I think what you meant to say was Squeaks. That's your favorite animal buddy. We all know that one. I guess Squeaks isn't really canon and official though. Again, Jacky taking a little bit of an upswim there just before he goes down in order to have more downwards momentum through that channel. Just again to be at as close as possible to his maximum speed as he goes around the corner so he has to do less acceleration. Slice apparently not a fan of Quawks. Quawks did get better in DKC 3 though, because he at least can hold barrels as opposed to just falling down parachute panic. Fan of all parrot animal buddies. Don't discriminate. Well, that's good that you're not discriminating. So pay attention to the piano here. So not quite pianoless, but very close. He did get that first piano refrain section, and I do believe he got all 6 notes. So he was really close to having an optimal stage, what we would call optimal, but a little bit behind there. Now, Torchlight Trouble. So again, dark stage where actually you do get to see Squawks, but not in the speedrun because he lags the game a lot, and you can pretty much play it without him. You lose a lot of time getting him. So where's your Squawks now in Onkos? Stuck in the box because he's a bad animal buddy. I wonder if Jacky, since he's on PB pace, no, he's still opting out of Rope Bridge Rumble SJR. Not sure if he typically goes for in speedruns anymore, honestly. I thought he did. He might just not be going for it because this is a race. But it is a potential like 8 or so second time save. Very nice platform skips there from Jacky. Blue taking an unfortunate death there. That is a trademark specialty of mine. I do that way too often. There's a very tight section there to jump in between those two mincers and then do a little quick roll to get more speed and jump out again before you run into the crusher there. Mostly just a mental thing. It's really not all that hard. But it's sort of a tight gap, and it can kind of just get in your head if you mess it up a little bit. The other thing is, it looks like he didn't grab halfway, so he just started the stage over. Not sure if he just intentionally took damage there to sort of just get through that section faster, or he just didn't hit the jump button in time. But Jacky with a low 18 exit from World 4. He is on really good pace right now. 32 pace, actually, if he can keep it up. Unfortunately, call it commentator's curse, whatever, but he did not get the super jump roll that he was looking for there at the beginning of ODA, so he's going to have to play this one out. It's about 24 or 26 seconds, depending on how you play out the stage, but he is a top-tier player, so he's going to do just fine. And he still has a pretty considerable lead over Blue. Blue getting those platform skips, no problem. And one last tire roll there, and he is free and clear out of Rope Bridge Rumble, heading on to that second beaver fight. Jacky with 2 Kongs, leaving ODA and into Trick Track Trek. The second spelling there, I believe, Sanjiko, it's with an X. They don't spell like the coffee for some reason. And now coming into Elevator Antics, Blue with a 1933 exit. So he is somewhere around a minute and a half, a little bit less, probably more like a minute 20 behind Jacky. Jacky doing the quick ropes, saving a little bit of time there, getting ahead of that first Necky's, or I guess second Necky's nuts. Saves very minimal amount of time. Blue also early on the ODA SJR frame perfect trick. He did get it in the second attempt, but he unfortunately bonked into the wall, lost all of his speed to the point where it is no longer worth it to take the SJR. Probably still cursing himself about that one. I would be as well. I feel for you, Blue. So now Jackie's setting up for elevator skip. Manipulate the camera such that it looks over that way and spawns in one of these elevators a little bit later such that you can skip that third one and the fourth one is there waiting for you. Taking it safe through the end of ODA, a recommended strategy in a race situation. Rather do that and lose a handful of seconds as opposed to dying and losing double digits of seconds, probably 30 plus at that point because it is very late in that stage, and that's kind of a long way from halfway. Jackie on Poison Pond now. Some good clips through some mincers right here. Lots of good movement, and I'm sure he's going to get this third try mincer clip. Triple mincer clip, third try. 1, 2, 3. There we go, boys. Finally got to show that off for you. First run, he looks like he just like messed up his setup a little bit, such that he bonked a wall, so the mincers weren't set properly when he got to them. The second run, he didn't seem to trust his setup, so he clipped the first one and then just opted out of the second, double backed a little bit. So now Minecart Madness. Switch to Donkey, run into the cart as Donkey, take damage, and you are rolling through air. We'll see if he goes for... Yeah, he was either just a little bit early or happened to get close and didn't really mean to. But yeah, he was a little early if he was going for the frame there and didn't get the jump roll off that bird there. But he did get the 2. So that's just about all of the optimization that most runners will go for in this section of the stage if you don't get the jump roll. You do save time if you roll through the birds, but it's kind of annoying, honestly, to position yourself such that you can roll through all the birds optimally. Here on out, though, it's pretty much just some tire rolls to bop these guys, these crashes in the carts. The 2 will save the run, indeed. Jackie now going on to Minecart Madness. Blue not going for triple mincer clip, but he does get that last one. No problem. So, Blackout Basement. Lights go on and off every 62 frames. This one is mostly just going to be muscle memory and the few visual cues that you do end up getting by the things that are still visible while the lights are out, such as the halfway barrel, DK barrels, and single bananas. For whatever reason, though, banana bunches are not visible when the lights are out. Blue also setting up, rolling through air, taking a long fall there to roll through that bird, and gets the jump roll. This one's a bit dicey to go for, just because if you are late on it, you do end up falling to your death. You lose your rolling through air state. However, if you're early, as Jackie was, it's no problem. You just keep rolling and jumping. No problem. Is this the part of Mario Party where we predict that Blue will win because he's in last place, gets bonus items and whatnot? Could be. It could be. That is sometimes how the Donkey got. If you are struggling and in second place, sometimes the Donkey Gods will give you the power to hit the frames. We'll end up seeing, though. So Jackie, now his splits are red, a little bit behind his PB pace because he didn't hit ODA, but still going to have a very good exit time here. Easily 33 pace still. Little trouble on the armies, though. Okay, he salvages it, no problem. So he's going to have a 24.41. Anything sub 25 is still 33 pace, roughly, I believe, depending on your luck with frames in this next world. So he's probably going to opt not to get Donkey back again, just because Donkey is a little bit out of the way, and he must trust his setup and Bird Tut enough that he doesn't think he's going to take damage. Blue taking a death there in Blackout Basement. That puts him a little bit more behind here. He's going to be pretty hard-pressed to catch up without something either catastrophic happening to Jacky or some very good fortune on his part with frames in the last world here, or a combination of the two. So Jacky typically doesn't go for Creme Tut, opting out of it right there. Smart decision in a race, in my opinion. Some people would still go for it. Setting up for Bird Tut now. He was early, so he's going to have to play out the rest of this auto-scroller and leave that juicy 42-second time save up for Blue. Unfortunate, though, just walking straight off the edge there. Looks like he just missed his Y button, but luckily it is immediately after halfway, so he pretty much only lost like 8 seconds or so. Whatever the fade out and fade in screens cost, basically. Blue showing off some slap slides on Dumb Drum. Again, frame perfect trick. You do regular slap and then also press a direction left or right along with pressing down and Y. Not useful in speedruns, just some cool tech to show up when you don't have anything else to do. And he is 2 minutes and 5 seconds? Did I do that math right? Yeah. He's about 2:05 behind Jacky, so he needs a lot to come back from this one. But Jacky did take that death, so we'll see how much he actually is behind. Just leaving World 5, that's the difference. And he does still have Tut hanging in the air in front of him, waiting. Jacky now into Manic Mincers on our favorite buddy, Ramby the Rhino. A little bit clunky to pick up, to adjust to in speedruns, just because he has that inherent input delay. It's programmed in so that when you press a button, it takes him a little bit of time to react, just to give him that sort of really heavy feel that you are actually riding a rhinoceros. Blue having a little bit of trouble here. He is going to be very hard pressed to catch up. Don't want to call anything too soon. Don't want to jinx things. But he is... Yeah, he needs a favor in order to catch up on this one. He is still in the beginning section of Tanked Up Trouble, whereas Jacky is now setting up for Misty Mind's SJR. And he hits it, but he goes for this alternate setup that actually gives him 4 snakes, which sets you at the max speed. This is typically... Oh, Blue just went for Creme Tut there. Very, very interesting. I guess he thought he had nothing else to lose, so good for him. But if you hit all 4 snakes, also late on Berta there, you save about 1 second over only hitting 3 snakes in the typical setup. But he does a little bit of an alternate strat there where he wiggles back and forth a little bit in order to let another one spawn. So that actually does lose time over the normal setup where you just hit the first 3 snakes that you come to. In order to actually hit all 4 snakes with the normal setup, it is, I believe, a frame perfect extendo in addition to the frame perfect trick that you already hit. So it doesn't necessarily cost anything to go for it, I don't think. It's just really tough to hit. So now Jacky in Loopy Lights, and he is far and away ahead of Blue. Blue's just stuck in auto-scroller purgatory right now, waiting to get to the end of Tut here. He still needs to do Mincers, he still needs to do Misty, and Jacky is nearly out of Loopy Lights. So Jacky's really running away with this one. Only one platforming stage left for Jacky before he is on the final two bosses. And that's going to end up being GG if Jacky gets there before Blue. Send Blue into the loser's bracket and send Jacky on to face who I believe is going to end up being Peachy. So Platform Perils, arguably one of the hardest platforming stages in the game. Some very tight rolls, some cool back boosts and whatnot, and he is going to have to do all of them because he missed the jump roll there. He was a little bit early on it. Unfortunate that he doesn't get to sort of ride out the end of this stage, but he will get to show off some cool platforming here for you guys. Nice double naughty extendo right there, and then this sort of stair section is kind of fun to do as well. I think he takes the end of this mostly safe. He doesn't do all those shenanigans like the double back boost and some platform skips that you can do. Especially in this situation, he has no need to do that. Blue taking damage, so he has to go get his Diddy back in order to be able to attempt Misty Mind's SJR. And now Jacky is looking at a high 33 question mark, I believe. Yeah, I think so. So Jacky is looking really good for this one. Blue unfortunately misses Misty Mind's SJR. Jacky is gonna miss the 33 mark, but he was very close. About to be like a 33.01. I'm sorry, 34.01. With he didn't die, did he? I don't remember. He hit Frenzy, didn't go for RBR, missed ODA, was early on MCM, he missed Tut, then he hit Misty, and he missed Perils. So he only got Frenzy and Misty, and this guy's about to get a 34OX. Pretty good runner, if I do have to say so myself. Unfortunately though, he apparently took damage as Donkey, so he is solo Kong right now. Doesn't really have too much to worry about, given that Blue still has all of Loopy, all of Perils, and the Neki 2 fight just in order to catch up to Jacky. So this one is pretty much all but wrapped up, but he does still have to be careful because one more hit and that sends him back to the beginning of this fight. The entirety of this fight is a little bit over 2 minutes long, so there is a lot of potential time loss here if he does take a death, but I think he's gonna need a few of those in order for Blue to catch up. Jacky onto the fake credits. Meanwhile, Blue is finishing up Loopy Lights. Goes for the first tie roll, but opts out of the second. That's a bit interesting. He is one Kong right now. Solo Diddy, so he's going to have to be careful. This Mankey got him last time around, but he learned his lesson and got out without a scratch. Just one set of hits left for Jacky here. And it is almost over. Blue, unfortunately, with a bad setup there for the Perils jump roll, gets hit. And Jacky is done with that low 34.03. So very, very good run for Jacky. That's a little bit over a minute off of his PB, with only 2 frame-perfect tricks in a game that relies very heavily on them. So Jacky is going to move on to the winners bracket round 3 against who I believe is going to be Peachy again, due to, I think, KBZ dropping out of the tournament. KBZ was set to race Nay, but Nay withdrew. He said to honor the farmer KBZ, and then KBZ also having to drop out, who was set to race Peachy. So now it looks like that's going to be Jacky's next opponent. Blue showing off that hot double back boost strat at the end of Perils. Some good movement there, and now he is going to be on to those final two bosses as well. One thing that I actually didn't even mention through all three of these races is that there is no RNG, with the exception of the two bird bosses. So, unfortunate frame perfect hit there on Blue's side. The game doesn't like when you do things frame perfectly. So he hit Necky as it shot out at Nut, so he withdraws immediately when that happens without taking damage. But the bird bosses, whether they are on the top or the bottom, the left or the right, is the only RNG in the entire game. All the other bosses, all the other enemies, all the other stage and everything about them, there is no RNG whatsoever. So it really is a game of skill. Except for those two bosses, and the savings on them are very minimal. The only difference between them being on the top or the bottom is basically the difficulty in being able to hit them optimally, but you still can do it either way. The lone exception is like a guaranteed time loss is if the final hit on either of the birds is on the top, just because it takes longer for him to fall from the top to the floor as opposed to falling from the bottom spawns to the floor. Blue looked like he was going for a slap slide underneath the cannonballs, but unfortunately didn't pull it off, so he is solo Diddy. Gonna have to be careful here, otherwise he's gonna be fighting this boss all over again. Alright, now Blue onto the fake credits, looking at a 38-2x, I believe. Didn't see his banana drop from Necky 2. It's pretty simple just because of the way that this fight works out. There's not a whole lot of optimization to it. You pretty just want to hit him as soon as he throws his crown at you. As soon as it's finally off his head, out of his hand, and hurtling towards you, that's when he becomes vulnerable. That's when you want to hit him. If you hit him as close to him becoming vulnerable as possible and as close to him throwing his crown as possible, you actually don't even see his crown being thrown. And that's what we like to call crownless hits. GG to Blue, 38-16. Sure, he might be kicking himself over his performance, but either way, taking game one against Jacky with a personal best of 33.04, I believe, like right on the cusp of that 32 mark, taking even one game against a player like Jacky is very admirable either way. So, gonna see if both or either of the runners want to come up in here for a interview. What's up, Jacky?
Yo, Rima. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. That was quite the series that you and Blue just had there. I'm going to have to say that I was on the edge of my seat pretty much the whole time. You were clawing your way back all through game one, but he ended up clutching that one over you by just about a minute due to some frames. Other than that, you two were pretty much on par with each other in terms of your movement and whatnot. But then games 2 and 3, you really ran away with it. And I think you said you were your arm wasn't feeling so well after the second one. So I'm glad that you could finish it out through all of that game 3 with us. And how are you feeling now?
I'm okay. I was quite afraid after the match 2, yeah, but now it's better. I mean, it's not too bad. It's okay. Yeah, I was really not confident today because Blue has been grinding the game the last months, and yeah, he's playing really well. So yeah, I was really not confident, and yeah, this first race was quite strange. I did something like I don't know, 9th try map warp or something like that.
Yeah, I counted 9th try on your screen, and I think Blue had like 3rd. But then after that, you guys like totally fixed whatever you had was going, and you guys both got 1st try in the next 2 races, I believe.
Yeah, it was 1st try. Like this trick is totally random for me. Like sometimes it's 9th try, sometimes it's 1st try. I don't really understand, but yeah, it was 1st try.
What's up, Blue?
Yo, hey.
Yo, Blue, GG.
Yo, great games, dude. Nice time. Congrats on getting on the race PB, dude.
Yeah, saying it could have been a 33. I don't know why I died in TUT just after the Alpha barrel. My Y input dropped, so I just died right there.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah, it looked like you just sort of didn't get a roll there and you just walked straight off the edge.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Luckily, though, it was like immediately after, so you pretty much just lost the blackout, fade in, fade out time. About 8 seconds or so, I think. So, Blue, you took race 1 by storm. You got, I think you got MCM, Bird Tut, and then Platform Perils Jump Roll as well. You won that one by about a minute. So we were really looking for that upset coming from you, but Jacky ended up clawing his way back. How did you feel after that first race?
I felt pretty confident. I was going well until ODA, and then like when I got the bad wiggle and I had to drop the SJR, like I was trying to recover from it, and like I was like, okay, this is fine. I just could not recover I could not concentrate, and it just like affected the entire second race.
Yeah, it really seemed like ODA in race 2 was sort of the tipping point for you. And I mean, at that point, you were ahead of Jacky, I believe, when you hit the frame, and then you got the first 3 guys, and then you messed up the wiggle there, and then ended up bonking on the wall. So you had to, like you said, you had to drop the SJR. But if you had gotten that, I think things may have gone in the complete opposite direction, because you might have just had that confidence and would have gone all the way with it and gone 2-0 here. But I guess we'll never know. Either way, those were all 3 really exciting races to watch, because you guys were pretty well matched, in all honesty. It was very exciting to watch, especially in the very beginning of, I think it was the second race. You two were like completely synced for the most of 1-1. It was honestly like we were watching the same game feed twice.
I've always wanted to do that. I see that on some people. I'm like, oh, that seems really cool. I want to do that with another racer sometime. I'm glad it actually happened.
Yeah, sure enough. So then between 2 and 3, what we're going through, you're all tied up at 1-1, and you had one last race to stay in the winner's bracket and pull this one out. So Blue, what were you thinking?
Well, I don't know. I was just hoping that we'll see a like really much run start after Forest. So I was kind of counting on, all right, let's see if I can get Forest. Then once I was late on Forest, I was like, all right, this is going to be either really hard or like it depends. But I was not feeling as confident. I was just like, okay, just focus on not dying. Go for like PB attempts, pretty much. Yeah,
and I believe you did get Forest in game 2, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
you. Another why it tilted me, because I also hit ODA, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And then I screwed up the wiggle, and I just could not concentrate.
I think you hit Forest in 2, and Jacky, I think you didn't even attempt it. I think you just went straight to the right.
I didn't try, because on the second race I was really not confident, and on top of that I died in 1-2. So I knew Sty was like already 15 seconds behind.
Yeah.
And so arriving in frenzy, I was no, let's not try that, because if I fail, I'm gonna be like 40 seconds behind. So, and yeah, second race was tough because I knew that Blue was confident because he won the first one. So I was like, he's gonna try frenzy and he's gonna get it. And then I died in 1-2, so I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna be like so much behind." That's
You clawed your way back though. Honestly, like as it went on, you made up little bits here and there, and then you did end up having a huge moment where you just ended up running away with it. Basically around that time of ODA. I think Blue took 2 deaths in ODA, and that's really when you took that race by storm.
That's tough, man.
Yeah. One of the deaths, I thought it was right after halfway because I was so trying to concentrate. I thought Rampy was there, and I know I dropped my roll, so I jumped right down to the pit after the bank. I just killed myself. Like, oh well, I'm really not concentrating. So bad. Good set though. Good set.
Definitely one of my favorite bracket matches that we've had so far. I think it was interesting the whole way. Definitely fun to watch. I'm really glad I went to Game 3. Sorry about the discomfort that you may have felt, Jackie, you know, since you've been battling tendonitis, but it was definitely...
no problem.
I mean, definitely fun to watch, though, this set of 3.
Yeah, I'm really happy because I think this game is really interesting to watch, and I'm pretty happy if we could if we made like something really interesting to watch. That's the point. I think I don't really mind if I win or not, but if it's interesting and cool to watch for people, so that's really cool.
Definitely. Yeah. So. Jackie, looks like you're moving on to probably face Peachy, because I do believe that KBZ withdrew from the tournament. So how are you feeling going up against Peachy with he's got a low 32 and he's been running pretty well. So how are you feeling about this going forward?
Well, it's exciting. I think I'm gonna try to do more optimal stuff because I mean, Peachy is one of these runners that can casually have a 33 and not even going for all the frames, like just like that. So I think I'm just gonna try to go for optimal stuff and we'll see. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think he's definitely one of those players where you have to pull out all the stops and you really have to go for everything in order to stay on par with him. So Blue, it looks like you're going to be moving on to face Mozzarella Cheese in the second round of losers bracket. So what are you thinking moving on?
I don't know. I'll just do my best, see how far I can go.
All right. Is there any different strategies you might pick up just for that race with him, for that set of races?
Well, there's some stages from the set that I had just with Jackie that I really want to go over, like some extendos, especially that 1-1 extendo. I could not get it all 3 times, that double extendo, which is really weird.
Yeah, I noticed that was giving you a little bit of a hard time, but it's okay. I mean, that one's not really worth that much, all things considered. It does kind of set the tone for the run. It might mess with your mentality a little bit, but you just got to remember that, like, if you mess that up, it's whatever, like 4 seconds at worst, which is, you know, nothing compared to the whole overarching, you know,
it's a difficult extendo.
So like you said, like when you get tilted, like right at the beginning, though, like not tilted, excuse me, but just like you'd have a bad start. It's just like it doesn't really set par with like the rest of the run. Just kind of has like a bad feel at the start. So
yeah, definitely good to have a good mentality at the start and then moving forward and whatnot. And I definitely could tell in that race too, you were not mentally where you wanted to be after ODA, and then I think a little bit of that into race 3. But either way, it was a great set, and I'm looking forward to more from both of you guys. For those of you still hanging around in chat, there is a challenge page, and there is also a speed gaming document, a schedule that you can check out to see when these guys are racing again and when everyone else is racing. and keep tabs on all your favorite runners and see what the bracket ends up looking like as we get further down the road. And I'm definitely looking forward to more of these races as we go, because they're only getting it better as we get towards the end, where we have the top tier of players going against each other in these best of 3 races. Any closing thoughts, guys?
No, I just want to wish Jackie good luck against Peachy and hope the bracket goes well.
Oh, thanks, man. GG again for your run. And I just want to apologize to Anan because I didn't win. I didn't go for the snake. Sorry, man.
It was a bit unfortunate that neither of the runners attempted Elevator Antics SJR. I'll use its proper name. I know there's a little bit of controversy there, but there was a lot of good tech, a lot of good tricks, both attempted and shown and displayed and whatnot. So all in all, I think it was a very good showing, and you guys should both be proud.
Oh yeah, thank you again for the commentary, Lumo. You did awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Lumo.
Absolutely, man. I love it. My pleasure. All right, guys, rolling out.
Rolling out.
Rolling out.